So you are a self-proclaimed C.S. Lewis. Would you call yourself an enthusiast, a fanatic? What level?
I'm an absolute freak.
An absolute freak. Okay.
I'm a geek. I just love the man. I just love his work. I love the man.
I love it.
And the funny thing is, I've read things where he said, I really don't think it's a good idea to be that fascinated with the personal life of authors.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, sorry.
That's funny.
Sorry, Jack.
Welcome to the Collaboration Conversation, a new-ish video podcast where Christian artists, entrepreneurs, and friends can share about their upcoming projects and how they are using the gifts and talents that God has given them. We are so excited as we are diving into season 2 to share with you guys that season 1, our award-winning season 1, has reached over 11,000 views across all of our platforms. And we are so grateful to our guests and to our listeners. We really couldn't do it without you guys. And so we are also excited to share with you guys that even though this is part of the Project Brickworks crowdfunded ministry, we are now accepting sponsorships for this season and for next season of the Collaboration Conversation. We have varying levels of sponsorships. And so if you are interested, head over to the collaborationconversation.org and click sponsor an episode. And today our very special guest is Kim Aldrich. Kim is an engaging author, speaker, humorist, and musician with an out-of-the-box style and an off-the-charts passion for helping believers embrace a lifestyle of authentic discipleship. She also has started a ministry called Tandem Living Ministries, and she has a book called Disciple Sips, which I'm obsessed with, and it's about leaving a Jesus legacy one latte at a time.
That's your thing.
It's just so clever. It's just so clever.
That's awesome.
Kim, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
Thank you. Oh, I'm wonderful. I'm so glad to be here.
It's very nice to meet you.
I'm really already obsessed with the background.
Oh, thank you very much. I have to tell you, we have no idea what we're doing. And when we started this, we were like, what kind of background should we do? And I was like, it don't matter. And then we just kind of slowly... She was really obsessed with like putting Easter eggs in the background. That was like the one thing she wanted to do. So we've got like little Easter eggs, and anyway, it's grown.
I'm going to be searching for Easter eggs.
Yeah, it's just grown from the beginning. So thank you for the compliment. That's very nice.
That is very nice.
Well, how are you today?
I am good. I am cramming like 3 days worth of stuff into one day, but I'm good.
Oh man.
Oh no.
Is it just work crazy?
Work. Yeah. I'm editing a couple of books, and so one of them I'm helping somebody do their launch.
Wow.
And I'm spending time with you ladies. And then I'm going to a band reunion for a friend of mine that he had a band back in the day, and his wife is, okay, he's not watching. She's throwing him a big surprise party, and all his band is showing up.
Oh my gosh, how fun.
Can you name drop? What band?
Rick Altizer is the artist, and I never knew the name, so I can't drop the name.
Oh, okay.
But Rick Altizer, he's also a wonderful filmmaker. He's done a lot of films that you've seen. I can't name them all at the moment.
Very cool. We'll have to look him up.
Yes. Well, this is so off script, but do you know that there's a book series called Kim Aldrich?
No.
It's like, I didn't really get into it.
Mysteries?
It's mysteries.
Like the Nancy Drew mysteries or something?
I think.
Yes.
And the main character is Kim Aldrich. Because when I was trying to get information about you, I was like, she has to know about this already.
Oh,
so,
no.
Isn't that funny?
I'm going to check that out.
Yeah.
So
that is awesome.
Cool. Well, why don't you tell us about the real Kim Aldrich?
Yes.
Tell us about you and your life in Middle Tennessee.
Let's see. Well, I live in Middle Tennessee. I've been here for about 10 years. I'm a Southern California. I feel like I'm a native, but I was raised in Texas for a few years, and then my family moved to California. So I really feel like a Californian.
Yeah.
And but since I moved to Tennessee, I discovered that green is my happy place. So I just love it.
Yes.
Because everywhere you turn, there's gorgeous green, and it feels like you're in Narnia, which I'm also kind of obsessed with. So that's great. So I feel like everything I do used to be a hobby, or everything I do is something that I sort of stumbled into. So I sort of stumbled into making disciples about 15 years ago. I stumbled into doing comedy. I stumbled into being a speaker and a writer. But now that I'm doing it, all those things are exactly who I am.
Yes.
And so the Lord over many years, sort of put those things all together.
Oh, I love that.
I love when he does that. He does that all the time.
Well,
and
yes,
I love
he
it.
does. I hear you're married.
That's the word on the street. Yes.
I'm not sure who's saying that, but that's the word on the street.
Yes. My husband is a musical comedian and all around wonderful guy. His name is Paul Aldrich.
Yes.
And you guys had him on a while
sure
back.
did. So if you haven't seen that episode, go check it out.
All right. So we normally wait quite a bit further into the interview to talk about people's talents and gifts because we want to hear, more about their story and their life and all that kind of stuff and projects they're working on. But your talents and gifts so lend to what you're doing, your ministry and the things that you're passionate about, that we just thought we're gonna just
Let's
jump
just
in,
kick it off with some talents and some gifts.
So we kind of do a name it and claim it, and we say sometimes it's a little bit awkward. And your husband was hilarious. He's like, "Yeah, not awkward for me, I can tell you." And he just
named
jumped right
it.
in. Yeah. So anyway, if you wouldn't mind, just because we don't know you as well, this is our first time to meet.
Sure.
Tell us what you think. The gifts that God's given you, is from a spiritual perspective, but also your talents as well.
I would say my spiritual gifts are primarily encouragement and exhortation, that kind of a thing. Also, creative communication and teaching. So I like to tell people about stuff they've heard about before, but they don't understand certain aspects, and do it in a quirky, funny, interesting way so that they can never forget it whether they want to or not.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
And so, and I also am a musician. And so I basically teach deep subjects in sort of a lighthearted way, and end up throwing in some music and some comedy. And then day to day, mostly I mentor millennials. That's mostly what I do.
Okay.
And
we love
spend
millennials.
all kinds of time going to coffee and lunch. And now I spend more time having them over because of all the crazy COVID stuff.
Right.
So I'd say of all those things, conversation is my thing. And the Lord turned it into something. I used to say, I want to find a job where I get paid by the word. And it turns out everything I do, I get paid to delete words.
That's
We only have 15 minutes. You can only say this many words in the book, but I still get to use words.
Funny.
So I love ideas and words. And I especially love working with people who have gifting, but they have no earthly idea what to do with it. Like they're lost in their own life. They don't really know. They know the Lord, but they don't know how to let him into the daily. And then they may or may not know they have some gifting, but how that translates into their regular life, they have no idea. And so that just dynamic of that relational enzyme back and forth, it is the most exciting thing to watch somebody come alive more fully. I'm addicted to it. I just can't get enough of it, because when you see somebody who is kind of like, I don't know, and kind of sort of, and then they're like, this is who I am, and I'm doing it. There's
nothing like it.
That's great.
I love that. I mean, talk about using your gifts of encouragement.
Oh yeah, totally.
To encourage others to get to that point. I mean, I love that you're using that in your day to day.
How did you and your husband meet?
We met through a mutual friend who, at the time, I was interested in dating, so awkward. And but I was doing with a friend. I was doing a storyteller cafe kind of thing where I did some music and I did some comedy, like a monologue or whatever. And so Paul came to that, and I think he said it was funny because the music went abominably that night. I had written the song the night before and it showed. But I did a comedy monologue, which was about this girl who she's complaining to the audience about how all her friends have all these problems. And it's so painfully obvious the whole time that those are her problems, to the audience. They're laughing, at that the whole time. So for some reason, he said, you just seem like a nice girl and everything. But when I saw that, I went, she's unusual. As you know, once you talk to Paul, you go, unusual appeals to him.
Yes. Oh, that's awesome.
Well, just as you were describing your talents and gifts, you guys align. That's just amazing how God brought you together.
Yeah, it is. And at the time, I'm sorry, my ear thing is falling out.
Oh, you're fine.
It's interesting how God puts people together, because I had zero idea of doing anything comedically when we got married. I didn't even think about that. I just enjoyed his stuff. And about, 5 years into the marriage, I sort of ingested the rules of comedy. There are actual rules, believe it or not.
Okay.
There's like groups of 3 and different things. And so we're coming home from one of his events where there were other comedians on the bill, and I was critiquing this one female comedian, like up one side, down the other.
Oh, no.
I wasn't trying to be mean. I was just like, did it seem she was kind of rushing? Did it seem like there were way more jokes available that she didn't say? Just things like that. And finally he stops the car, he turns to me and he goes, do you want to do it or what? And I hadn't even thought of that. I didn't even have the courage to think of that. So from that point on, I thought about it.
Gosh.
But I took a couple of days to answer him because he's kind of a tough room. Like he only likes what he likes, So it took me 2 days to go, yes, I think I
do. That is awesome.
But he already knew you were funny.
Yeah, I guess so. I come to think of it. And then he was just so supportive. He said, I think you'd be great at that. I totally think you should do that. So it was, but I mean, just an example of we were wired very similarly and yet very differently.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't know about that part at the time.
Well, I was just going to say, when you were talking about music and public speaking and encouragement and humor, I'm like, oh my goodness, you guys
align.
That's awesome.
Well, so you guys are obviously so aligned, but I want to talk to you about how you are using, I guess, those talents and gifts in your ministry. So I'd love for you to share with us a little bit about the ministry. You briefly mentioned that you meet with millennials and mentor them. So talk to me about that.
So, like I said, about 15, 18, I lose track of time. A while ago, I sort of stumbled into discipling this one young woman, and I had never been discipled and never met anyone who had been discipled. I mean, to me, it was just like Paul and Timothy huddled over a dusty scroll, back in the Bible. I didn't know people did it anymore. But I met this young woman and I just felt like, wow, I wish I had someone to send her to, that could help her get established. I don't know a soul. Who could that be? I don't know. And then out of my mouth came the words, well, I've never done it, but I'd be willing to think about it. You want to pray about it this week? I'm like, what? From what? I don't know what I'm talking about. And so she said yes, and we prayed, and God said yes. And I was like,
I love it.
But yet I just felt this incredible peace. And so I started discipling her. Then I didn't know we were meeting at the church office, but somebody was listening to our meetings each week. So there was like a loft office overhead for the church staff. And one of the associate pastor's wives, who was the basically the heart and soul of that church. I mean, she did a bunch of different things, but people just gravitated towards her because she was just sort of love personified.
Yeah.
And she came down the stairs one day after the meeting and she goes, I think it's going pretty well, don't you? I went,
oh no.
So we got to talking, and it just so happened at that moment in time, the Lord had been speaking to her about discipleship and how it was something for everybody, that it was supposed to be business as usual in the body of Christ, not a special extra credit thing or whatever. And he kept, every time she would read the Great Commission in Matthew and try to move on, the Lord would go, go back, read it again, read it again. And so she kept doing it. And that's when she met me. And she said that to me. And it was like, it was fused into me from the Holy Spirit. Like, I have never recovered from that moment when she told me that. And so I just started doing that more and more. And by trying, like you said, you didn't know what you were doing when you first started doing this podcast. I had no idea.
Yeah.
But the Holy Spirit is more than faithful, to teach you through all that.
Amen.
So fast forward about 10 years after that, I was always telling my girlfriends, this is the most amazing thing. You've got to get a piece of this. Like, you got to experience this, And they get so excited, and they'd be, I'm sorry, I keep messing with this.
You're fine.
So excited, but they would say, like they were reading from a script, they would all say the same thing when they would go, that is so great for you.
For you, yeah.
It's perfect for your personality, but I can never do that. And these are women who are leaders in the church, known Jesus for 10, 20, 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Over and over and over. So I started getting really sad. And so I was like, Lord, what is the deal? And started praying about it. And over time, I felt like the Lord wanted me to put down what I'd learned so far, so that they'd sort of have in their back pocket my experiences, so that when they decided to step out, they wouldn't feel so afraid.
Yeah.
And, and I realized, I asked the Lord, like, why don't they think they could do this? And I'm sure there are many answers, but the two that stood out to me were, no one's ever done that for them. Like what they're in their 30s, 40s, 50s and beyond. And no one ever took the time one-on-one to invest in them. So they don't know what it looks like, smells like, tastes like, feels like. And the other thing is that no one ever taught them to do it. So they feel insecure,
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's kind of what I do. I go around and and inspire, hopefully, and equip women to do that in their daily lives, whether they have a mentoring ministry at their church, or even if they're in their small group or just at the grocery store. People ask me all the time, how do you find these people to disciple? I'm like, once your radar gets tuned in, most of the body of Christ has not been discipled.
Yeah.
So they're everywhere.
So they're everywhere.
Like we could spend our whole lives discipling just the body of Christ, but we need to do that and move beyond,
Right.
But anyway, so once you get tuned in, it's really hard not to find people. Then I wrote the book in part because I needed some help. I'm sure there's lots of people out there doing it, but I didn't know them.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So
how long ago did you write the book?
I published it in 2017.
Okay.
And it took me 4 years.
Wow.
And I could have told you on day one pretty much everything that was in it. We could have had coffee and I could have just told you the whole thing. But it took me 2 years of being overly self-conscious of like, well, should I say it this way or should I say it that? That type of thing. And then I wrote twice as much as I knew anybody would ever read. It was close to 100,000 words. Nobody's going to read that. If you're scared of a topic, you're not going to read that. So I spent another 2 years paring it down to half. And one of my favorite compliments somebody ever gave me is this lady said, I hardly ever read a book. And I read your book. And my favorite part of your book was all the white space around the edges.
Oh.
Like, well, thanks. But I actually was really tickled because it meant that I had made the chapter short. And each chapter she felt like she could accomplish each chapter. I on purpose did that,
Yeah.
And so anyway, it's kind of funny.
I love that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, so it sounds like you're an editor as well.
Accidentally as well.
Accidentally.
Yeah, you seek it out. But, through the years, you meet friends and they saw that you published I've published 2 books. And so they just, I guess because I sort of have that coaching, equipping thing going on. So sometimes I will for special friends. And what I really love doing is coaching authors to help them sort of draw out. It's the same process as mentoring. You draw out of them what's in them, help them kind of get a sense of what's the slant that your book's supposed to be told from. Because other people have maybe written on this subject, but what's your unique slant? So I'm trying to work myself out of an editor job and just only coach.
Yeah.
But on occasion I do.
Well, and I think I'm going to speak to this just for a hot second because I have a church in Chattanooga that I go to, but I also work for a church and their big thing is making disciple makers. So, the Great Commission, go out and make disciples, but also equipping those people that you're discipling to then go be disciple makers as well. And so I wanted to speak to that because I think that that's what you're doing. And I think it's wonderful.
It's so inspiring.
And I think it's become more of a challenge than I expected because a lot of times I will get feedback from people and they go, I read your book and I had this total shift in my thinking. I get it now. I know I can do it. I understand I'm supposed to do it. But I get far fewer messages from people saying I am doing it. And I think there's still a little hesitancy on people's part. And I kind of sense deep down, the more I'm looking at it, that so many people like if this is your spiritual foundation, all of us have cracks and holes in our spiritual foundation until we meet Jesus. But if somebody has a particular one and they don't even know what to call it, they just know they feel quite not ready, I think more and more I'm realizing even women, midlife and beyond, they need to be discipled first. They just honestly, because once someone has really been discipled, you can't hold them back. You know what I mean? It's like, you don't have to tell them to do it.
Right.
And so that's kind of, I think I'm going to incorporate that more into the equipping time is like, okay, first let's fill in the holes.
Yes.
And then, then I don't have to be going, come on.
Yeah. You don't have to push them out the door.
Well, it's funny. I mean, I've just really never given this a whole lot of thought, deliberately, but I was mentored. She was a college lady in our church, and I was in high school when we first started, and then moved. We got older, we both got older at the same time, same rate of getting older.
That's how that works.
Sorry,
it's crazy.
And
time is weird.
Anyway, and I was a young married lady and a little kid, I think, and she just, I mean, I'll never forget her ever. And this is in Southern California. She lived up in La Cañada. And now it's kind of second nature. I mean, we have a whole group of girls, ladies, probably in there anywhere between 34 and 41 or so, maybe even not that, in our church. And that's just my job. I'm, never, if you had said, are you mentoring anyone? I'd say, oh no, I'm not.
But now
I
you're
am.
thinking about, well, and when you think about that and how many people, the women that you're discipling that's what that's going to be like for them, is they're never going to forget it. And then they're just going to start doing it. Like you just said, you can't hold them back. It's going to be second nature.
Their thing is to officially week to week meet with people in an official way. Other people, it's as you go, and it's always going to be as you go.
Yeah.
But it's still effective, and some people could never receive from somebody when it was official. Like I've met with a girl one time, and she asked me to be a discipler. And when we started, she's like, ugh. She just had too many wounds from the past. The thought of me being her authority freaked her out.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, back up. We're friends. But, some people can receive it one way and some another. And some people, their gifting is just the as you go. And that's amazing. I mean, some people say that, the Great Commission, that's the phrasing, as you go, make disciples. It's kind of almost a byproduct of you being an apprentice of Jesus.
Yes.
That maybe you don't even, like, I'm encouraging people to get intentional.
Right.
New headphones. These are driving me crazy. But it is important to get intentional if you're not doing it. But a lot of people, they might be doing it.
I love that.
They just don't realize that that's what they're doing.
Well, and I think just to go bring it full circle to your talents and gifts, that you have a gift for meeting people where they're at. And like you said, you kind of have to, because not everybody is different. Nobody is in the same spot in their spiritual walk, and nobody has the same cracks, to bring it back to your beautiful illustration. Nobody has the same cracks in their foundation.
Right.
And, some people need a jack to lift this side up to make it level, whatever cool imagery you want to use. I just think that I'm going to speak to that talent that I think that I can clearly see that you have, which is meeting people where they're at, whether that's with empathy or compassion, but just having the patience as well to not treat everybody this, it's not a one size fits all kind of approach. And so I can just hear that from you, and I want to affirm that.
And, and so much of it, I'm a talker. Maybe you figured that out by now.
Us too. It's good.
Yeah.
I discovered that I'm also a listener, and I had to learn to be that because I love to talk. But I'd say 80% or more of really being a good mentor or discipler is zipping it and listening with your eyes. And I love the concept of letting Jesus listen through you.
Yes.
Because he will. It's one thing for you to listen. It's another thing, go, Lord, what do you see? Help me see that.
Right.
Then you see
awesome.
somebody in a completely different way. I also wanted to speak to, yes, that is my particular skill set. I love that. But, when my friends would say, oh, that's perfect for you. But there is a way that's perfect for them.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a way that's perfect for each person. They have a particular skill set. There's some people I can't reach because they would go, why are you just like so chatty? Why are you so whatever you are? There are people that need a different personality.
Yeah.
They need a completely different skill set. That's why, the body of Christ, there's all different parts. And so it's really exciting when someone discovers their style.
Absolutely.
Of investing in people and just rocks it.
So it's kind of funny. I live a couple of hours away from here, and she and her brother live down here with their spouses, and they keep wanting me and my husband to move down here. And I would love that. That would be great. But I keep thinking of the girls in my Sunday school class.
I can't leave them, right?
How can I live without them? It's so funny. I've never really been able to kind of identify that. I've always called them friends, but it's that investing in people, helping them to be the absolute best they can be for the kingdom.
Yeah.
It's I'm sure I'll move down here at some point, but it's just so hard when there's probably 6 or 7, but ours is just very not an organized thing at all. But it's Sunday school, so I see them weekly and Wednesday nights. I love that. I just really have never thought about this before.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
In these terms. Yeah.
Well, so you mentioned in our back and forth that you live in a 2 entrepreneur household. What is that? I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory just from the verbiage, but what is that like?
Yes.
I'm an entrepreneur, but I don't live with an entrepreneur. Steady job, not freelancer. There's a lot of stability there. It makes me able to do that.
There
so what's
are
that
days
like?
that your situation sounds good.
I'm sure, but I'm also sure that there are probably pros to your way as too.
Yes. So the pros are, when he comes home from a gig, I can totally help, listen and break it down with him. Like, how'd that go? What was that like? And we can just, totally dissect what happened and analyze it, and vice versa, and understand, each other's pain, what they had to trim 5 minutes. Oh, I hate it when that happens, 'cause now what do you do?
Right.
That kind of stuff. The cons, well, mostly it's that, okay, my brain is full to the brim with ideas, and his brain is full to the brim with ideas.
Yeah.
And on certain days, we look at each other and go, I beg you, please, not another detail. I can't hold it,
Oh,
so there's times when
yeah.
we just have to give each other grace and go, I love you and I am for you, but later.
Yeah.
Right.
Because we need that sounding board. We are that sounding board, but occasionally we have to go talk to somebody else
Yes.
who doesn't have the 10 billion ideas floating in their head.
Yes.
Who just wants to listen and doesn't have to share.
Right.
Oh, totally. Well, so I read on Facebook, not that I'm stalking you at all, I promise, but that you're going to
Well, if you do, you find out she hasn't been on for a while. But anyway.
Well, actually, this was on Sharon Wilharm's page, so I wasn't fully stalking you. I was stalking
So,
Sharon.
never mind, I didn't say that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Anyway, you're going to be a special guest speaker at the Women of Focus Lighting the Darkness conference at Springfield Baptist Church in just a couple of weeks. But can you tell us a little bit more about that conference?
Yes, I am so super excited about that. So their aim is to believe one church hosting, but they're reaching out to churches in the area.
Oh, nice.
And to have a larger gathering of women. And so they're going to have the first half of the day is going to be about lighting, receiving the light, into your life. And then the second half, which I get to be a part of, is spreading the light.
Nice.
And so I'm just super excited about that because it's a wonderful metaphor to think about, that relationship with Jesus. He is filling you with light. He is light, and when you look at our world the last year and a half, 2 years, if you ever saw darkness,
yes,
you see darkness now.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited to help women see, that, it makes me sad when people go, well, I don't have a very big candle. What can I do?
Oh.
But if you think about each of us in our sphere of influence, there are people that, what you say is big in their ears, and what they do matters to you. And those are the people God's given you. And so I'm so excited to see these women get energized, about doing that. We're also going to talk a bit about evangelism because it's funny when they first booked me for this, they said, oh, we want you to come because our church is totally into evangelism. And I went, not really so informed about evangelism.
Right.
Oh, no.
More on the discipleship end of things. And they said, oh, yeah, I know. But if you think about it, the style of your book is completely fitting for evangelism. And I went, oh, yeah, that's true. So I've really been studying up on that and practicing it more in my own life. And it's true. I mean, I recently met a young man who, usually I meet with young women, but I just kind of met him and we were talking and I realized he doesn't know the Lord yet, but he's seeking. And I realized at the end of the day, I went, those are the same. It's the same skill set, except for you're not exactly on the same page, but it's listening, drawing out, asking questions, letting them know you care, letting the Lord listen to you is so similar.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited about that.
Well,
and I also get to do a little music. So yay.
Oh, yay.
Which is another talent of yours. And it's just it's very cool to see how much you and Paul are the same. You're very different people, but that you guys just get to create together and be creative together. That's very cool. Super
fun. And I would say we're very similar, except we're completely opposite. The way we process life is, it's the same heart, but the processor's different. He's an introvert. I'm a huge extrovert, introvert blend. Kind of a thing. And he's a man of few words, and I never met a word I didn't like. So there's that kind of a thing.
I love that.
It's very different the way we process it. But when we were first married, I I was like, what is the deal? How do I marry somebody so opposite in some ways?
Yes.
And then it dawned on me one day, it's like, yeah, but it's a weird thing to say about yourself, but we both are like upfront people we really love, like the big splash. At the same time, day to day, you might even think we're boring because we just live this really quiet little life. And we don't do the thing, and then we're quiet. And we both like that, we both are similar in that way. So it's interesting how God puts people together that are
God
different.
Yeah.
Well, so if people want to get involved with your ministry or just get in touch with you, how can they do that?
They can go to kimaldrich.com, and you can email me at kim@kimaldrich.com. I know that's really complicated, but and I'd love to hear from you. And in the next few months, and especially the next year, we're going to be doing more things where either online or in person, there are going to be more official, like equipping opportunities for people.
Amazing.
If they are like, I really want to fill in this holes in my spiritual foundation, or I really want to learn how to invest in somebody else. So, I have a nonprofit, and that's the Tandem Living Ministries. And so we're kind of rebooting that after COVID. And so we're just working on, some opportunities for people to do that, both in person and online.
That's so cool. Well, tell us a little bit about the nonprofit while I still have you.
Yeah. So we're part of this umbrella nonprofit that is established for Christian ministries, so that, let's say there's smaller ministries and they come underneath this umbrella. So I don't have to become a 501c3. They already are.
Okay.
So, they handle the tax stuff and then this and then that. And yet there's spiritual covering for us. There's fellowship with, hundreds, I think, of different, we call ministry departments. And so it's really a wonderful community of people who are all over the world serving Christ in creative ways and sharing the gospel.
Oh my gosh, how cool.
And if you ever want to support what we're doing, you can go to kimaldrich.com, and there's a little button you can click, and
yay for
donations. A monthly or one-time supporter, we would appreciate it, because it really enables us to go to churches and be in situations where the people can't afford to pay us.
Yeah.
And then we can go ahead and still provide the services.
Amazing. Definitely do that if you're listening. kimaldrich.com. In case you missed that, I'm going to spell it KIMALDRICH.com. Please go there and check it out and support them. Well, Kim, this has been awesome. We're gonna wrap up here with a little quiz that I know you're super excited about. By excited, I mean a little anxious, maybe. I'm very excited. I live for these quizzes, so I'm excited. So you are a self-proclaimed C.S. Lewis. Would you call yourself an enthusiast, a fanatic? What level?
I'm an absolute freak.
An absolute freak. Okay.
I'm a geek. I just love the man. I just love his work. I love the man.
Yes.
And the funny thing is, I've read things where he said, I really don't think it's a good idea to be that fascinated with the personal life of authors.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's funny.
Sorry, Jack.
Well,
but I love his work primarily. It's such a blessing to me.
Oh my gosh. Oh, and
Amen.
Millions of others.
Yes.
I mean, yes, he's a genius. And so, all right, you ready for some trivia? Here we go. Question number 1. What does CS stand for?
Clive Staples.
It sure does. See, okay, I do have multiple.
Doggone.
Yes, I do have multiple choice on here. So if ever you need it, which I doubt you will, you just let me.
Okay, that's like phone a friend almost. Like
yes,
I need the multiple choice.
Just in case.
Okay.
Where was C.S. Lewis born?
I looked it up today. Belfast.
Yes,
Belfast
in Northern
So
Ireland.
he thought it was English, but he really was.
Yes.
He was Irish, I guess, technically.
I was surprised by that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another British author and C.S. Lewis were close. Can you name him?
Tolkien.
Tolkien is correct.
I love that story.
Yeah, their friendship is so fascinating to me, and watching the movies about it, I'm like,
yes,
yeah,
I agree.
Obsessed with it.
Yeah, that had to be like like Genius City, right?
Right.
Oh, yes.
I think about how God orchestrated their paths crossing.
Yes.
I mean,
that was a good day.
That was a great day. That was a great walk. I love it. So, all right, next question. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe took how long to write?
Oh no. I have zero idea. Multiple choice.
Multiple choice. All right, we've got A, 1 year, B, 10 years, or C, 20 years.
1 year.
10 years.
Oh, 10.
It took him 10.
Okay, I do have a bonus trivia point, though.
Yes.
That I read today that they're not sure if it was The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, but there is a fairly strong belief in some quarters that he wrote the first Narnia type book, showed it to someone, they didn't like it, and he destroyed it.
It's true. And it was The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. He threw it out. And it was Tolkien who didn't like it.
Tolkien didn't like any of them, which just
that's fair.
Good point. Yes, good point.
Yeah, that's a whole other.
Can you imagine
writing
something and throwing it away?
Throwing it away. What an interesting friendship too. Yes. I don't like any of your work.
Bless his heart, because Tolkien had a very specific view of what mythology was supposed to be like, and since Lewis married reality and fantasy and mythology, it bothered him.
Yeah, he couldn't handle it. I mean, he made some good work too, but
I love Lewis.
Yes.
He did.
Okay, next question. C.S. Lewis taught at what? You didn't really word.
I get them all mixed up.
No, that's okay.
Well, we have some choices.
Magdalen, whatever college, and I can't remember at which.
Of Oxford.
Yes.
So, but Magdalen was correct. Magdalen College of Oxford.
I can never pronounce it. Yeah, Magdalen.
Yes.
And he taught at two different places. I don't remember which is which.
And then he later went to Cambridge, which is,
there you go.
I'm not English, but I'm pretty sure they're like rivals.
Yeah.
And I think he got a lot of flack for it.
Yes.
But didn't they like create a whole program?
Yes, for him.
Yeah. So
to teach him.
It's a good move.
Yeah. I would create a program for him.
And the last question.
Yes, you would.
Yeah, right. And the last question is, what is your favorite C.S. Lewis quote?
Oh, okay. My brain just exploded.
I was like, I don't have any multiple choice on this one for you.
Too many.
So.
Way too many. Okay, let me think.
Or a favorite.
Just a favorite, yeah.
Okay. Seriously, I quote him several times a week. Every week of my
love
life.
that.
I am drawing a complete and total blank. Okay, I've got one.
Okay.
I'm not sure I'm saying it exactly right, but so he said, we need to bring to God what is in us, not what ought to be in us.
That's beautiful.
Oh, nice.
I love that. I mean, talk about some discipleship and mentoring.
Yes.
And helping bring that to fruition. I love that.
Oh, I'm going to have to go read up on that
And I have to tell you a trivia thing I learned today because I thought it was so fascinating.
Yeah.
So C.S. Lewis wasn't particularly good at sports. In fact, he was really bullied as a child because of that. But he was very athletic. So like he hiked and he swam and he boated and he did he did a lot of athletic things, but he couldn't do team sports. And the reason that he and his brother both have two knuckles on your thumb, they just had one. So they couldn't throw a ball and catch it. Is that the most amazing
weird
thing?
Yes,
so
that
were
is interesting.
One step from not having an opposable thumb.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my gosh. I had no idea.
That was hard for them. And then I'm thinking he wrote by hand all those years.
All that time, yeah.
Anyway, I just thought that was an interesting
fact.
Is
very interesting.
It wasn't really his fault.
You won trivia with giving us a fun fact.
Yes. That's awesome.
I love it. Well, Kim.
I especially love that he was a genius. I have a desire to have a conversation with C.S. Lewis in heaven, but my biggest fear is he will go, yeah, she's kind of boring.
No. No. I don't think he will say that.
But what I love is that just the down-to-earthness about him, great sense of humor, belly laugh, all of that, and then really genius. I think that's a wonderful
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, we're big fans too.
Yeah, our dad is my dad. Yeah. You're not your dad. My husband is a very big C.S. Lewis fan. I remember in college, I went to Austin Peay State University, and we were doing some kind of tour of the president's house. It was some kind of like special thing for the honors program or something, and he had framed a letter from C.S. Lewis, and I was like, I wonder how I can steal this. It was like Nicolas Cage and whatever.
How can I distract them? Right?
Yeah, I was like, I'm going to steal it.
That's awesome. Okay, I do have one more story. I know I always have one more story, but I have to tell you. So, they have these, it's like a theater night where someone will play C.S. Lewis. They have C.S. Lewis and Tolkien, that kind of a thing. Well, we've been to a few of those, and we went to this one once where I think it might have been both. I don't know. But anyway, the actor that played C.S. Lewis was wonderful. And I didn't even have any idea, but when I got there, it turns out our friends that we met there, the wife had just become the assistant of this actor. So I'm like, oh my, how exciting,
Yeah.
And so just chatting with her before I got a chance to talk to the actor, I was telling my friend all these, zillion little trivia things about C.S. Lewis because I just can't stop. And she went, wow, you know so much about this. So she introduces me to the actor who plays C.S. Lewis, and she says, this is Kim. She's a C.S. Lewis expert. And I went, oh, so embarrassed. And I go, well, I'm not really an expert. I'm just a total raging fan. That's, And he leaned in totally in character. It was like a dream come true. It was like talking to C.S. Lewis. He leans in, he goes, well, the person who knows the most in the room is the expert.
Oh, I love that.
Total moment, like I got to talk to him.
Yes, that is really cool.
So we saw one of those at TPAC in Nashville. It was we saw Screw Tape Letters. That's the one that
I haven't seen that one.
It was good. Yeah. That's awesome.
That is so cool.
This has been so much fun.
Yes, and to anyone who's you feel like you talk too much, and I'm just like hanging on every word.
Yes.
You are such a good communicator. You are so engaging to listen to and to talk to. And so I want to affirm that in you because you've been such a blessing to have today. So inspiring.
You guys have been wonderful.
Oh, and we're so excited for you. We'll be praying for your ministry and for the ladies and gentlemen now that you are mentoring. And just, I think that's wonderful. And we are so, so grateful that God has called you to that and that you've answered that call and you're doing it so well. And so anyway, we're so, so grateful to meet you and chat with you. And so thank you for telling us about what you're doing.
You. Awesome. Well, it's so great to meet both of you and wish you well in all that you're doing. It's really a blessing for what you're doing too.
Thank you so much. We'll see you later.
Okay.
Bye.
For more information on Project Brickworks, visit us online at projectbrickworks.org. Subscribe to our newsletter or text BRICK to 55498 to get the latest news and updates. And to catch up on previous episodes, head over to our website, thecollaborationconversation.org. We love you, be blessed, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.